Now here's something I've never seen before at Carlisle. I'd only just arrived at the Citadel and hadn't had time to unpack and assemble my equipment when this Basford Hall crew to Moss End working ran through platform 3. I simply plonked my camera down on the table in front of me and let it roll. When was the last time you saw 105 motor vehicles, all travelling together from Cheshire to Scotland, in reverse? Cepheus, the mythical king of Ethiopia, husband of Cassiopeia and father of the lovely Andromeda, all of whom have constellations named after them. Who would have imagined when this Class 37 locomotive first appeared on the scene 61 years ago that it would still be operational at the end of the first quarter of the next century, and sporting such an exotic livery? Whilst I've been filming Cepheus, a visitor has arrived in platform 1 at the opposite side of the station. One of a number of East Coast expresses diverted via Carlisle because of engineering work being carried out between Newcastle and Edinburgh. These are bimodal trains, which will operate under electric power on both the East and West Coast main lines, but under their onboard diesel engines over the 60 miles between Carlisle and Newcastle. Arriving from the Tyne Valley line under diesel power, the driver immediately converts his train to draw power from the catenary. Cepheus waits patiently for a road. A trainload of old ballast coming from the Huddersfield area as part of the ongoing work to electrify and improve the busy Trans-Pennine route between Manchester, Leeds and York. And finally, Cepheus sets off on her smoky way to Kilmarnock.
Gets you where you need to go. See you later.
Clean ballast. But this is heading for Tyneside, presumably for the engineering work going on to the north. While in Platform 1, Scotland's daily supplies are heading toward the border. Coming from the border, the 0913 ex-Glasgow Central, a slow stopping service via the old Glasgow and South Western main line. 2.5 hours travelling in elderly 156 units. Not the way to travel if you're in a hurry, but on a clear winter's day with the leaves gone from the line-side trees, a scenic route worth taking if you've never done it. A team of ScotRail ladies travels out from Dumfries to Carlisle each morning to spend the day clearing up the mess left inside the trains. It's an hourly service by those passengers who find it too difficult to pick up their litter and put it in a bin. Northern Bell's Settland Carlisle Steam Special from Liverpool is now due. With traction provided by West Coast Railways, you can probably guess what arrives. The green, or climate change pendolino, always adds a welcome splash of colour. So, if it's running, I include it. Midland Pullman's Lord of the Isles Pullman is on day one of a 3-day tour from Rugby to Inverness and Kyle of Lochalsh. Stunning scenery, outstanding service, and, according to the weathermen, lots of wind and rain. Getting younger. Saturdays are usually quite a light day for freight here at the Citadel, but today we're seeing it all. The Class 90s were a late 1980s replacement for the earlier Class 80 to 85 electric locos, by now getting on for 30 years old. Their different style of bodywork led to them becoming nicknamed Skodas, and those old enough to remember Skoda cars of that period will know that this was not a flattering reference. However, the 90s, now in private ownership, add yet another touch of colour to the day. A local primary school party on an educational visit. The downpour doesn't seem to worry them. The diverted Azumas keep on arriving. LNER are advising passengers that their journey times are likely to be extended by about 2 hours. There used to be signs at the south end of each through platform reminding LNER drivers to ensure that they were in diesel mode before departing. Those signs have disappeared. This is all that remains. The Cumbrian coastline remains stymied by the closure of Corkicle Tunnel, and who knows for how long. This is of concern to me as I'm spending next weekend on the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, celebrating their joint Rail 200 Ratty 150 event. I'll be staying at St. Bees and commuting to Ravenglass, so the very limited train service currently operating is a source of some worry. Now the Pullman returns from Upperby Depot, where it had been taken partly for servicing, but principally, I suspect, to free up station space for all those extra trains. The green Pendo returns south. As yet another colourful train heads north. The younger element explore modern traction. And finally, the Pullman sets off for what promises to be a very wet trip over the Shetland Carlisle. There's a lot more material, but this video is already too long, so no more. It's an early departure, so I'll be back in time for a bus home. Knowing there'd be no steam today, and with bad weather forecast, I nearly didn't come. I'm glad I did. Thanks for watching, and here's to the next time.